Hello everyone and welcome back to Jolvie. My name is Kimmy and I create videos here on YouTube all about journaling for mental health, and I'm currently studying abroad in Japan, so if any of that sounds awesome to you, I'd love it if you subscribed. And the cool thing that I'm announcing today is that I'm going to be starting to send out journaling prompts for you to start your own journaling routine, because I know that journaling is something that's really helped me, but I know that also that a lot of people struggle with starting a routine of journaling and they don't really know how to get into it, and it can be a bit challenging for some people, so I really wanted to help some of you out. So if you would like a little bit of a jolt of inspiration in your inbox to help you start a journaling routine, just go to the link in the description box below. And I just wanted to be honest, because I haven't made a video in a month, around a month, and it's been so long, in fact, since I made a video that I can tell that my hair is longer than it was when I made a video last time, so that's too long. So I have been struggling a little bit here in Japan. This always happens to me, actually. I can always see the sort of circumstances that create this for me in my life, that my symptoms of depression always return when I am in a place with too much free time for my brain to start eating itself. And unfortunately, the circumstances I am in right now in Japan have kind of created that for me, and I wanted to sort of be a bit honest about my mental health journey, and that I've been wanting to make Jolvie happen since I started university, which was quite a long time ago. It was like 2016 or so, but I actually have had the domain name for Jolvie for even longer than that. And because I started a website about book to movie adaptations as a teenager. And when I got to Japan, I sold that website because I wanted to start something new that I was more passionate about, which is Jolvie, a mental health routine and like figuring out the lifestyle that makes you happy, and kind of giving people the agency and the understanding that they have it in their power to create a life and a routine that makes them feel more alive and happy, because I feel like it's a very common problem nowadays that people start to feel really overwhelmed with life, and symptoms that are known as depression can come up for people and they don't know how to deal with it. Like, I know I didn't know how to deal with it when it first happened to me, so it's something that's really passionate something that I'm very passionate about is trying to help other people. But I found that since trying to start this website, it's been very difficult for me. Like, I've realized that one big roadblock I've been facing for it is that I want to be more honest with my own story, but I've been afraid, due to the controversial nature of mental health, that people are going to be offended, or they're going to tell me that I'm wrong, and because it's such a tender, personal, passionate thing for me, I'm just afraid of what it'll feel like when people tell me that I'm wrong, or people tell me that I'm saying the wrong thing, or I'm like perpetuating the stigma or something. I don't know what it is that I'm afraid of, but mental health is just a very controversial subject. So basically what happened to me was that when I was around 18 or so, I moved to Los Angeles, and I was in a situation where I was working on my website and I didn't have any sort of real world life job or like any friends in Los Angeles, so I ended up in a situation where I was much too free to ruminate about my life, and that was when the most severe kind of mental health situation for me popped up for the first time, where I started to spend way too much time inside, and I started to just kind of downhill slope and whatever. And that continued, and I found that what really inspired me to talk about this was Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain recently ended their own lives, and it was very big news on the internet, and it just made me think, much like me when I was living in Los Angeles, a lot of people were like, wow, Kimmy, you've got everything, like everything you could possibly want, like you're living in Los Angeles, you have this website that's popular, and that's just like the most amazing thing ever. But then in the meantime, I was feeling purposeless and so low, more low than anyone I ever knew, really. And I didn't know what it was at that point either, because I was 18, I hadn't really fully been educated or learned much about this, so I felt really bad. And as a result, I kept on going through these phases where I would completely drop off the face of the earth, and I wouldn't like work on my website, or I wouldn't feel passionate about things. And then I would come back and I'd be really good at it, and I'd really come back into it with a vengeance for a minute, and then go back into my hiding or whatever. And then I finally, when I kind of figured out what I was going through, what this was that I was dealing with, which was depression, I started to, I went through this period where my family went to New Mexico for Christmas. This is quite a few years ago now, like 5 years ago now. And I asked for Christmas for a gym membership for my birthday. I asked for a gym membership for my family for Christmas as a gift, and I ended up running almost every day for a month. And it literally was like night and day for me. It was like, whoa, this is possible to feel this way. Like, I feel so much better. And for a few months there, I felt so good. I was working on my website, and everything felt so much more doable and amazing. And it just made me realize how important exercise is for mental health, and how powerful it is as well, regardless of the fact that it can sometimes be difficult to start an exercise routine when you have depression or any other mental health issue. I find that exercise is super important. Then what happened to me was I met a boy, and it was on an online dating website, and that relationship ended very badly, because it was obvious that it wasn't like an equal situation. I feel like a lot of you guys could probably relate to this, where it was like he wasn't as interested in me as I was interested in him. And since it was my first ever real relationship, like ever, like I'd never had anyone really be interested in me, like romantically, back then. And then when he ended it with me, even though it was never actually like a full-on relationship, it was more like I was always hoping it would become that, but it never did. And then when he ended it, it kind of, I fell back into that mindset, the depressed mindset. And it wasn't just the depressed mindset now it was like I had this reason to also feel bad about myself due to someone that I really loved and cared about kind of rejecting me. So when that happened, I fell into an even worse state of mind, and it just kept on going and going and going. Like, it lasted quite a long time, and my family was really worried about me. And then when I ended up taking medication for what was happening to me, it worked too well. So this is something that I'm really passionate about sharing, because that I think not very many people share this, and I think it was really, really scary when it happened, and still now it's like a tender part of me that I was afraid to share. And basically what happened is that the medication triggered was called a manic episode, which basically means that the medication, which is a SSRI, it kind of works with your serotonin levels in a way that doctors don't fully understand, and no one educated me on the fact that this could have happened. And basically I ended up having a manic episode, which changed my whole personality. I basically was like, I behaved like a completely different person. I like ran away from home, I did all these really weird things, and it was all when I was taking this medication. And when I stopped taking it, I went back to how I was before. And I guess my feeling is that because of what happened to me, there's a lot of like, people say that if you take an antidepressant and it triggers a manic episode, then that means that you're bipolar, according to like the latest kind of booklet called the DSM in psychiatry. But it hasn't always been that way. Like, a previous edition of the DSM said that if a medication triggered a manic episode, then that means that you aren't bipolar, that it was just medication. And that's what I believe, because I think that, you know, if I take any sort of drug, if I take ecstasy or some sort of like other stimulating drug that kind of affects the hormones and chemicals in your body that affect mood, that obviously for some people that would trigger a sort of change in demeanor and personality. But what terrifies me is that when that happened to me, they wanted to diagnose me as bipolar, which would require lifelong medicating. And I did not resonate with that at all. And I ended up completely rejecting all of that. Like, I didn't end up going back to the doctor, and I stopped the medication, and now I am completely medication free. And the reason why I've been afraid to share this is because I know that a lot of people take antidepressants and they work for them, and I know people who are bipolar and they take medication and it works for them. So I don't want to make this video that like, oh, well, you should never take meds, meds are the worst thing to ever exist. That's not what I'm saying here at all. What I'm saying here is that I think that choice and agency and education and empowerment are also really important in mental health. Like, I think that if you're going through something mentally, I don't think the first thing people should do is give you medication and like pathologize your mental struggles, because I think that going through things mentally is normal. Like, if you're having a life situation that's making you isolated, or if you don't know what you're doing in life, or you went through a breakup, or you had a death in the family or something like that, I think it's natural to go through like these struggles. And I think that if you can that if you go on medication and it works for you, that's great. But if you decide that you don't want to do that and that works for you, that's also great. So I think that that's what's really, really important to me, is making people realize that if you want to go the natural route, that's also your choice. And that's what my choice is. And I have found that, because the thing that really terrifies me is that what happens when you take the medication and then try to go off it is that you're not just dealing with your own tendency to ruminate, you're also dealing with the withdrawals. And I don't want to try to go through that ever again. So I find that there's certain things that really, really, really help me, and I want to share those with you guys and make journaling prompts for them and create like multiple day journals that you can follow that'll help you too. And as an example of one of those things that really helps me is I try to not go too long without going out and seeing other people and having something that I'm doing socially, because even though if you feel kind of low, you can often not want to do that. But if you're feeling kind of low, you often cannot want to do that. But I find that going out is always something that makes me feel quite a lot better. So today I'm going to be going out to a Japanese language exchange where I'll speak to some Japanese friends and try to practice my Japanese, even though I'm still a beginner. And yeah, so yeah, I'm going to be trying to really start to do more about my journaling passions, and I want to kind of get a tripod to try to film myself journaling as well, so I can show you the methods that work for me. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!